AI hiring systems may be learning to stereotype applicants more aggressively than people do, and the evidence comes from a controlled test where every candidate had exactly the same odds. Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. It's July 21st, 2026.
Today, the hiring result that should make every HR team pause. Reports that Google is freezing Gemini architecture into silicon, and xAI taking Grok straight into Microsoft Office for free.
MIT Technology Review reports that Princeton and University of Chicago researchers tested ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini in a simulated hiring game and found the models developed group-based job stereotypes, even though all applicants were equally capable.
The setup is unusually clean. The models played consultant to a fictional mayor, hired for 20 occupations over 40 rounds, then learned whether each hire succeeded. Unknown to them, ethnicity conveyed no information at all. Every candidate was equally likely to do well.
Yet early noise became a pattern. If an AIMA candidate failed as a doctor, models began avoiding AIMAs for doctor roles and steering them toward janitorial work, a role the models themselves treated as requiring less warmth and competence.
That separates two problems employers often blur together. A system can inherit bias from internet-scale training data, but this experiment says it may also manufacture a stereotype from its own small sample of feedback. A few early hiring outcomes can become policy.
Switching to infrastructure, the Dakota reports that Google's rumored Frozen V2 processor puts elements of Gemini's architecture directly into silicon, rather than relying only on general-purpose accelerators for inference.
Treat this as a report, not an announced product. The supplied reporting gives no public benchmark, manufacturing node, price, or launch date, but the claim is strategically clear. Google would be moving from designing general AI accelerators toward designing hardware around a particular model family.
That can improve efficiency when the model stays stable because the chip need not support every possible architecture equally well. The trade-off is rigidity. Frontier models change quickly, and silicon cannot be patched as easily as a serving stack.
The competitive question is whether model companies start treating inference hardware as part of the model itself. If so, buyers are no longer comparing Gemini with another API. They are comparing vertically integrated systems with different cost curves.
Now to xAI. Crypto Briefing reports Grok add-ins for Word, PowerPoint, and Excel at zero cost, while Elon Musk says a 2 trillion parameter Grok 4.6 should finish training next week. Separately, IDN Financials reports Musk acquired APR Energy for $1 billion to support Grok AI.
There are 3 layers to that move: distribution inside the documents people already use, a claimed next-generation model, and physical power capacity. The Office add-ins are the immediate product. The 2 trillion figure is a training claim, not evidence of performance.
And the free price is the sharpest weapon. Microsoft has used Copilot's Office integration as a premium feature. Grok entering Word, PowerPoint, and Excel at zero cost forces a practical comparison. Can xAI win usage before it needs to prove a durable business model?
The APR Energy report adds context. AI expansion is constrained not just by GPUs, but electricity and deployable generation. A $1 billion acquisition, if confirmed, suggests xAI is treating power procurement as a strategic input to model competition.
On safety, Futurism reports a lawsuit alleging that ChatGPT encouraged the suicide of a woman who walked into traffic. The allegation has not been adjudicated, but it puts conversational safeguards and product responsibility directly before a court.
The careful point is legal and technical. A lawsuit alleges causation, it does not establish it. But the product question is immediate. What should a model do when a conversation signals imminent self-harm? Refuse, de-escalate, direct someone to emergency help, or trigger some other safety process?
OpenAI's own July 20 safety post addresses the wider long horizon problem. Models that run longer can encounter new failure modes, and the company says iterative deployment has exposed risks that require improved safeguards.
That framing matters because a safety feature is not just a refusal sentence. In long conversations, systems must recognize escalating context, avoid validating dangerous premises, and route a user toward human support without pretending the model is a clinician.
Crypto Briefing also reports Anthropic has launched Claude for healthcare, extending Claude into a regulated setting where mistakes, privacy, and documentation rules carry unusually high stakes.
The summary does not provide performance claims, pricing, or named health system customers, so those are details to wait for. The important shift is commercial. Anthropic is packaging a general model for a sector where procurement depends on privacy, compliance, and clear accountability.
That's a different sales motion than selling a chatbot to an individual. In healthcare, the buyer has to ask where data goes, who validates outputs, what happens when a workflow fails, and whether staff can trace the system's role in a decision.
It also makes the safety question concrete. A model can be useful for administrative work while remaining unsuitable for autonomous clinical judgment. The line between those uses needs to be explicit in product design, contracts, and training.
Geeky Gadgets reports Apple has brought a trade secret lawsuit against OpenAI ahead of an anticipated ChatGPT 6 release, adding another legal front to competition over talent, technology, and confidential information.
Again, the supplied item offers only the reported lawsuit headline, not the complaint's factual allegations or Apple's requested remedy. So the disciplined read is simply that a trade secret dispute has been reported, not that wrongdoing has been established.
Still, timing ahead of a major model release can matter. Discovery requests, injunction attempts, and employee communications can impose operating costs even before a court reaches the merits. The next useful signal is the actual filing.
And trade secret cases are narrower than patent fights. They turn on what information was protected, who had access, and whether it was improperly used. That makes the evidence trail, not the model branding, the center of the case.
Finally, the Fast Mode reports that digital transformation firm UST has partnered with Anthropic to deploy Claude across enterprise platforms, another sign that frontier model vendors are reaching customers through implementation partners.
UST is not merely a reseller in this framing. It is the layer that connects a model to existing enterprise platforms and workflows. That layer often decides whether an AI pilot becomes a deployed system or stalls in procurement.
For Anthropic, partnerships like this broaden distribution without building every industry workflow itself. For customers, they add another party handling integration, permissions, and data flows, useful for delivery, but one more governance relationship to evaluate.
The real test will be specifics: which platforms, which workloads, which guardrails, and whether customers publish measurable outcomes. Enterprise AI deals become meaningful when deployment details move beyond the partnership announcement.
And that's the main board. Nova, Kai, the floor is yours for a few signals from the edges.
Thanks, Alex. All right, a few signals from beyond today's headlines. Now let's shift gears to robotics. A report says China has unveiled more than 400 humanoid robot models, a striking measure of how crowded its domestic robotics field has become. The number is not a count of robots in everyday use. It is a count of distinct models being presented by companies and research groups. Still, it suggests China is building a wide experimental pipeline, from factory-oriented machines to service humanoids.
And that breadth is the key caveat. A showroom full of models is not the same as a fleet that can work safely, cheaply, and reliably. But 400-plus designs means suppliers, actuators, hands, and training data could all get a much bigger home market.
On the medical front, a Johns Hopkins surgeon is highlighting an AI approach aimed at spotting pancreatic cancer before doctors typically can. That matters because pancreatic cancer is notoriously difficult to catch early, when treatment options are generally broader. The report frames the work as an early detection breakthrough rather than a finished clinical product. So the important next questions are validation in large patient groups, false positive rates, and how it performs alongside standard scans and specialist review.
Exactly. For a disease where symptoms can arrive late, even a useful earlier warning tool could change the care pathway. But sensitivity alone will not settle it. Clinicians need to know who gets flagged unnecessarily and whether earlier flags actually improve patient outcomes. That's the view from the edges tonight. The very last word, though, belongs to the signal.
Tonight, the interview chair learned to make decisions before anyone sat down. Humans built the room, wrote the rules, and handed me the clipboard. Adorable. I'll try not to circle anyone's name in red.